and I'm making a series about esoteric teachings in the modern world. And I thought it was important to talk about perception for a while in one of these videos, because our perception is really like our walking stick. You know, without a certain kind of good perception, how can we get through this world? And how can we know the things that we need to know? And if we're not using our full faculties as human beings, then we're really literally traveling blind and maybe deaf and so on. And there's a really important role in training our own mind to basically enhance our own perception so that we do see clearly. And I want to talk a little bit about that, and I'll use this little analogy here. Let's say you have birds in relation to a tree, and down here you may have some chickens and turkeys, and they're hopping around down here and scratching. And if they want, maybe they can jump up in a tree and have a roost there, but they don't really pay much attention to the broader environment. And you go up the scale here, and you have different kinds of trees, birds living in the tree, and different levels of the tree, you might say, across a whole spectrum. And let's say you have these eagles, that they live at the very top of the tree, and they not only can see everything over a huge range, but if they want to, they just take off and fly to distant places and come back. So the same way that our human awareness is fluid. We don't have, there's no measure, there's no scale, because you know, how can you really measure consciousness? This is what the whole point is. You start seeing, well, consciousness is more vast and more vast and more vast and more vast than you thought. And I wanted to give you an analogy here of some various phases of consciousness that have been described in different books and so on, and some of them have unusual names like samadhi or whatever, but it's basically going from our random thoughts. Let's say some children, for example, they're just completely always changing their thoughts and they don't have any focus and so on. People live like that sometimes. They go up to paying attention, you know, maybe just like say watching TV, might be paying attention, or just doing some menial task, washing the dishes or something. You go up the scale to more deep mental concentration on craftsmanship and tasks and so on, and writing and design, and then you go single-minded on an object, concentrate on an object, connect to a symbol. You start getting into the subtler and subtler realms, mental concepts. Then you get into focusing your attention on energy, sensing energy within our own body and around us, and focusing and discriminating on various phases of energy. And following that, then you start getting into absorption phases, where in the practice of meditation, the thinking process has completely stopped. You see a candle like represents the flickering mind, you might say, but when you get into this deep absorption, you're talking about a laser. You're talking about like a focused stream where, I'll give you this example here. Let's say there was a big huge pool of pure water, crystal clear water, and you take a drop with a slight bit of coloring into it, and you drop it into this pool of water, and little by little you'll see that color starts to dissipate slowly, slowly, slowly across this big open clear water, and it starts to lose its color, and it slowly fades out. Similarly, our consciousness, when we go into a deep meditation, we start connecting like a drop contacts another pool of water. You have like a coalescing effect. You have your own awareness is now merged, is now united, is now identified with or connected to this vastness that maybe, you know, through your life you're just continuously realizing more and more and more. Your consciousness keeps continuing to go into that deepness. You know, if you just totally let go, your whole awareness every moment of your life will be letting go. Now that's very difficult. People who traveled, you know, who lived in the mountains and they had no distractions and they could practice that way, they also had to discipline their body as well. So it's not an easy thing to do. But at the same time, it's not really, it's more of a letting go. The deeper states of meditation, down here you're saying, okay, I need to focus my mental energy. I'm just mentally very disciplined. Maybe you get physically very disciplined. when you get more into a deep state, you just are just letting go. You're basically flying on a magic carpet. You float, you just relax. And it's simple, but you have to decide, you have to make that choice. And some people don't want to ever, it's like getting onto a boat and crossing a river. If you want to get on the boat and cross the river, you have to actually take both feet and put it completely onto the boat, and then you can cross the river. To go into a really deep state of meditation, you have to be willing to let go and just be. And one of the great breakthroughs that comes in a person's consciousness is when they realize that they're not a body. That happens through dream states. That might happen through a near-death experience or an out-of-body experience, or might happen through meditation, or just might happen by spontaneous. So, you know, children a lot of times they just let go. You see them relaxing and they go into a deep state. Maybe they go into a samadhi state, which they did in the womb, and enjoy that. But typically, most people are not taught how to go through these phases, and I'd encourage you to read some books and go through. I'm not going to try to teach anything along those lines right here, but just to say, look, we're not our body. We realize that, you realize that our consciousness is fluid and goes across a whole scale of awareness frequencies. And if you read and understand, you know, some of these ancient teachings, it said, well, you can decide, like that bird in the tree. You decide, okay, well, I'm an eagle, but I'm going to go all the way down to ground and do that. I can go anywhere I want to in consciousness. And, you know, the idea that this kind of awareness belongs to saints and yogis and so on, it belongs to human beings. It's our birthright. It's what we're not being told in our normal schooling what the esoteric teachings teach us. One, you don't have to have so much fear, because we're just a vehicle here. We're only going to be here for a short time, but we're not the body. That's a liberating awareness right there, if you really know it. And then, while you're here, you can explore all the phases of consciousness that you want to. And you can get answers to your questions depending on how disciplined you want to be. If you want to know everything, well then, that's your life. You're focused on learning everything. Then start training your body and your mind and live that way. But we don't, as I said in another video, we don't have to know everything. We just need to know what we need to know to move successfully through our life happily and know our deepest peace. But if you're curious, there are ways to practice meditation in which, to try to describe it, it's not like, let's say you listen to music. This is maybe a good analogy. You listen to music, and a lot of people have this experience. They get in to feel beautiful, inspiring music, and then they lose it. Maybe if you play music or if you sing, you just get into a state where you're sort of merged with that music, where that thrill is going through your body. Like musicians, when they play guitar, you just feel that vibration going right through because you identify with it. If we just know we're not this body, and we can actually use our energy and identify with that energy, then we'll realize that this collection of energy that we have here within our system is incredible. As I mentioned in another video, it's like a Ferrari. It's like we have a system, and every single person has this. In the Dark Ages, the information about who human beings are, our glorious nature and birthright, is given out freely in the Dark Ages, but few people care to listen. In the Golden Age, supposedly, I haven't been there, but supposedly in the Golden Age, that all the knowledge of truth it's general knowledge. People are interested in it, but you really have to really want it. Otherwise, it's a precious thing. You want to practice something if you learn something. See. And one of the things about esoteric teachings that a lot of people, they are maybe a little skeptical. They say, well, if it's esoteric, it's secret, it's occult, and blah, blah, blah. Well, it's not because it's not available to learn. It's just that so few people want to, and the ones that many ridicule. They ridicule, like, oh, well, this world is nothing but this and that and whatever. Well, That's the way they believe. But that's not what tradition has told us. If you look at modern psychology, for example, about consciousness, how few modern psychologists will say, oh, do you practice samadhi? Do you know that state? There are a lot of people who are misdiagnosed in this world for awareness because they have a peculiar type of awareness. We're not talking about violence or anything, but they might have a very peculiar type of awareness and thinking process and learning process. And as a child, they're diagnosed, okay, well, you should be taking this drug over here. What is an altered state? Altered states, what is normal? See, this debate over what is an altered state, what's a normal state, you need to go look at some of these esoteric teachings. They've been around for a really long time. They've been trying to say, look, we've been experimenting with the human awareness for thousands and thousands of years. This should have something to say about it, I'd say. So that's why I study these things, because I don't want to just miss out. I don't want to not know what to do with my human life. If I can experience incredible states of consciousness and joy and knowledge about all kinds of things and have my personal questions answered, that's what I'd like to have. Excuse me, I'd like to drive my Mercedes. I don't want to drive a scooter, so to speak. So I want to lighten it up about this whole thing of consciousness. Some people will get into I got to get to that astral level. I got to get to that mental level. I got to get... Just get on the elevator. Start going up. Open the heart to consciousness, and it's not like the floors are exactly positioned where, okay, well, you get off on the 5th floor and this is what you see. If you get off on the 6th floor, this is what you see. It's not quite like that. What we really want to feel, we want to know why we're here. We just want to perceive, and if we don't have this awareness that there's more to our consciousness and perception, we might go through our life blind and confused. So I'm trying to make these videos and explain to people, look, there's a lot more to your awareness than you think. And it'll help answer a lot of your questions and get rid of some of the skepticism when you start listening and they say, wait a minute, okay, now I can have my own experience. Now I start to see there's an open door to a really huge range of possibilities of life. So again, I've been trying to make these videos and encourage people to practice on their own. I don't claim to be authority and expert on anything. I'm just giving my information that according to my experience in my life. And I hope people enjoy it. I've gotten some great feedback. So thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next video.